Welcome back, everybody, to the DomCast, episode 63, I hope. I am here at almost midnight on Thursday, it would be. And, yeah, recording at midnight because, man, games just all day, every day. This is the true definition, well, one of the definitions of ball is life, because I think I might have bit off a little bit more than I could chew, or we have bitten off more than we could chew with this, I was gonna say like March Madness style tournament we got going on for the play-ins. Yeah, I just don't think before we got to this I had a great grasp of what we were actually getting into. But it's amazing though, I love it. Before we dive into all that, I'd like to actually put this at the beginning for once where it's useful to you, that you can find this podcast, I was about to say Spotify, I had to stop myself. You can find this podcast on Spotify and iTunes with the link in the comment section and description, or you can type in UCast Studios on either platform, search for the DomCast on there, it'll pop up. I figured I would finally, put that information at the start where you can, close your phone and listen to this way, rather than saying it at the end after you've listened to this whole hour and a half thing. So there you go. That is there. You can just let this play in the background well, I was going to say like I let the NBA play all day in the background, but I don't really let it play in the background. God damn it. Here we go. Slurring words. It's midnight, man. Give me a break. Background, not background. Yeah, no, the games are not playing in the background of my life. I'm watching most of the games, I would say. Let's put it this way. I'm watching everything important. And where I was going at the beginning is I don't think I had a great grasp that this was really like, this is not the play-in tournament, but this really is, it's a seeding tournament basically, and I love it because there's a lot of things I didn't account for. Like when we were talking about basketball all day, I didn't really grasp that. Yeah, like most days it literally starts at about 1 o'clock Eastern and doesn't end until right now. Hell, the Lakers and Rockets are playing. I'm not watching that game because LeBron James sat out, Westbrook sat out. The Lakers, they were already kind of, I guess you could say, struggling. That's one of the topics that I have written down to speak about here. And without, the best player on the floor and without a key cog in the Rockets offense, what can I really tell for that game when I could be recording a podcast? So, not sitting in on that one, but I do sit on most everything. And, man, I tweeted about this earlier this week. It is going to be difficult to go back to regular season basketball. Because another thing I hadn't accounted for was the fact that there aren't bad teams here. Not like bad, right? There's average teams here. There's teams that got like an accidental invite, I believe. Like the Washington Wizards. I didn't realize this. Somebody tweeted to me and pointed out the fact that the Washington Wizards have fallen behind a team that aren't even in the bubble. Yeah, if you look in the standings, they're 30.5 games out of first seed. The Hornets are 30. So they're half a game behind the Hornets right now, and the Hornets are at home. So if you need to know anything about Washington being in the bubble, hey, I guess if you want to watch some young developing players, fam, I don't know. Outside of being a Washington fan, I don't know what you want with them. But yeah, they're here. The Nets are here. But right now, if you look at what's going on in the West, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, everybody is sort of in this thing. Of course, you have the first 8, and then you have the teams battling for 8. And yeah, to my knowledge, down to the last team, everybody, even though it's way less likely for, I believe now it would be the Pelicans sitting at the bottom of the conference. Of course, the further you go down, it's way less likely. But there's things that can happen to where they can still end up with that seed. But we're going to be talking about that in a moment. Just wanted to throw that out there that, man, this is kind of like a fantasy land, right? Like when I was in college, I always used to refer to college as a fantasy land. You get to wake up and, you work a bit, but you play a lot. And I was like, yo, it's kind of brutal that, you go from college into the real world because they're night and day, depending on where you went and what you were doing. And yeah, going from this where it's like, every day is a marquee matchup. Every single day we see some superstar player playing or MVP matchup or future playoff matchup. We see that every day, and that's a far cry from when we get back and it's like, oh damn, look, we play the Hornets, then we play the Knicks, and we play the Bulls. Like for 3 games straight, there's something you don't give a shit about, right? But that is an awesome aspect of this. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and jump into some of what's actually going on in the bubble. And not at some point we'll talk about what it's how it's affecting time schedules and all that, and how it's affecting other teams as well, because you have teams that aren't in the bubble now, and one of the conversations people are having is, well damn, this is kind of a developmental or a developing advantage for younger players and for teams, right? Because the teams that are sitting at home that have young players, it's nothing like game experience. So you got young players like Bol that are out here getting play time. MPJ right now, which he absolutely needed this. He's basically having his breakout in the bubble. He's becoming what we all wanted him to become, earlier in the season that I guess we were probably trying to rush. He's becoming that now. And It's not like any other teams were making the teams that aren't here weren't making any runs, but yeah, they were still just recently talking about the Chicago bubble and possibly making the Chicago bubble still happen. I thought that was dead. I was searching for news about it about 2 or 3 days ago because nobody ever said anything else. And then like a day ago, Shams tweeted that apparently it's not as likely anymore, but I didn't even know they were still talking about it. I'm like, fam, the playoffs start in 11 days? Yeah, right now I'm recording this on the 6th, it's about to be the 7th. So about 11 to 10 days the playoffs start, and y'all are talking about starting another bubble somewhere else with some, below some market pantry teams. Like, what? I didn't know it was still a conversation. Apparently it is. Anyways, many conversations about what's actually happening in the bubble. Yeah, very, very sad day. Well, okay, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but every day as a Magic fan is really a sad day, probably. I'm just assuming. But man, this is even darker. Jonathan Isaac tore his ACL. He tore his ACL, I'm almost 100% sure, in the same knee that he injured that had kept him out until the bubble. So if you think back to January, he had a knee injury that looked very scary. We got lucky, and it wasn't anything that was going to, just put him out for like a year or anything like that. I can't remember exactly what the injury was, but I do remember them saying maybe if they get to the playoffs he can come back. So what I'm saying is it wasn't just outright season ending. So we get to the bubble, of course. That was 6 months ago, 7 months ago. He gets to play now. He's wearing this bulky brace on that knee, so it already, it's. I always hate seeing shit like that because these days, especially with what's going on in the bubble with players taking these god-awful crashes to the floor and these falls and dudes falling on each other. Fucking Mike Muscala is in concussion protocol because he fell and his feet literally just, it was like a ghost took his feet from under him. He was falling and his feet just whoop, they just went upwards and he fell and slammed his head on the floor. There could legitimately be a compilation of just terrible falls. And so these days, every single day I have a jump scare where it's like, oh goddamn, and I'm looking at a player when he goes up for a tough layup. I don't even follow the ball. I follow the player to see if he just got hurt. Anyways, that did happen with Jonathan Isaac, unfortunately, and super unfortunately, because his move wasn't, it was far more pedestrian than the other dangerous things we've seen so far. It wasn't a fall, nobody fell on his leg. It was actually damn near identical to Derrick Rose in his hop step. So think back, Derrick Rose is in a game that he shouldn't have been in any longer. They had already beat the Sixers, but Tibbs was trying to make a statement or some shit like that. I don't know. And yeah, D-Rose, that's the crazy part, right? Reggie Miller was talking about that as it happened. He was saying that, the Bulls were making a statement because the Sixers at that point said they would rather have played the Bulls than the Heat. And right as he was talking about that, D-Rose got hurt. There's a detail there. I remember a lot of random things. Yeah, D-Rose does that hop step, and Isaac did the same hop step, man. Same exact thing, just hop through the lane, and boop, gone is the ACL. You knew it was serious as soon as you saw it. He was on the floor clutching it. It was that same knee that was already hurt. And especially after you saw the replay and you saw the way his knee was turned, like, it's unfortunate that we've seen so many serious injuries. And we've seen so many, hell, at this point, ACLs that you just kind of, you know what it is when you see it. I had no hope from the start. The D-Rose comparison was actually what I made just at the moment that I saw it. And yeah, like D-Rose, they were in a game that, or he was in a game that he didn't need to be in. They were obliterating the Kings, I believe, which will be funny later when we talk about the Kings because they were in God mode today. But yeah, they were obliterating Sacramento. Shouldn't have been there. But this is unfortunate for the Magic for multiple reasons. First of all, the Magic just can't have anything nice. They just can't have anything nice. Some of it is their own doing, of course. You go back to their history with Penny and Shaq. We already know that, small little feud happens there. But then they get really stupid with the re-signing of Shaquille O'Neal. And, they basically just fumbled him. So that was their fault. It wasn't their fault, however, that Penny Hardaway developed knee injuries like right after that. Or maybe it was. Maybe he couldn't handle the load that he was forced to carry basically after Shaq was gone. Maybe that sped it up. Who knows? But yeah, you lose Penny to knee injuries. You go up into the 2000s. You get T-Mac. You got Grant Hill. Was supposed to get Tim Duncan. You don't get Tim Duncan. Also a fumble, kind of on their part or Doc Rivers' part, depending on what version you believe. And then. Yeah, Grant Hill gets off the plane to Orlando without his ankles, so it's basically just T-Mac and a bunch of generics for a couple of years. If you run into Dwight Howard, make a finals, that was the closest they ever got to success. Then that situation goes south. I think they made some very dumb trades there at the end. Anyways, very, long and roundabout way of saying, just goddamn, bro. Every young, bright talent they get, something happens. And whether it's injury or whether it's them fumbling it. And with Jonathan Isaac, this is especially brutal because he was just in this bubble again. A lot of players seem to be having this bubble effect. I don't know if it's playing without a crowd or, you know, a lot of guys, they were apparently going in on quarantine on those workouts. We were bamboozled thinking they were just sitting at home or just, you know, on Instagram or building Legos like Matisse Thybulle showed on his first like the first day of quarantine. We thought they weren't doing shit. Apparently not. But yeah, he was playing really well. That one game I remember, I was like, he was hitting a lot of 3-pointers, and I was like, oh, so it appears he's finally KD like everyone said he was slated to be. But from the moment he's just torn his ACL, that's just a couple of days ago, so it's August right now. We know this is what, like a probably 9 to 12 month injury. The next season, again, we already did our off season, so he's gonna probably miss all of next season. Because if this season goes as planned, or 2021 season goes as planned and starts in December, we're gonna go from December to June, and the Magic added that. What are they gonna be playing till like April probably? So yeah, he's definitely not going to be back for that. And so the next time we see Jonathan Isaac, it's plausible that we may be able to have fans at games again. Of course, who knows with the way things are going in this country right now. But I would hope by the end of 2021, a whole year from now, a whole year and some months from now, because the next NBA, I would assume 2022 season probably won't start until around October. Yeah, I would theorize we would have fans. But yeah, man, the Magic, what do you even do next season? This was your best, your youngest, I don't know if he was the youngest player on the roster. This was your best young talent, basically. This was your best young talent. This was your brightest hope for maybe having something to build around one day. Waiting for the offense to catch up with the defense. Fucking brutal situation for Orlando. And yeah, I have probably saved myself a lot of aging, a lot of years off my life by being a Celtics fan. Because I'm in Orlando, but when T-Mac was gone, once he was gone when I was a kid, I was like, oh, bet, so I'm gone. That's basically how that went down. I was in the 5th or 6th grade. I started watching cartoons again when he left. I was like, fuck this. And so, yeah, I dodged a bullet there. So yeah, save 15 plus years on your life by switching to the Boston Celtics. Just not in our sim on Twitch if you follow us there though, because then you'll age. So yeah, Jonathan and Isaac out for the foreseeable future. Jaren Jackson out for season. What the fuck, meniscus? I'm talking to meniscus like it's a person. No, for real, what the fuck? This is not the first time a player walked off the court just fine, no incident or anything. Then boom, we get the news that, hey, buddy just tore his meniscus, he's out. That happened with Derrick Rose in 2015, yeah. That happened to Derrick Rose in 2015. The year that they played the Cavs. You might not remember because he came back and he was actually nice in those playoffs, but he missed like the end of that season, and it was really random. We don't even know the exact moment he tore his meniscus. If you look up on YouTube, there's a video that theorizes that's when he tore it, but we don't actually know. And so he tore his meniscus. And so Jaren Jackson, same thing. He was just playing in their last game, the last game that he played in, because they've played another game since then by now. But he was playing, he was good. Then we got the news, bam, he's out. At least we know. I mean, meniscus can lead to later things, especially depending on how it's actually treated. It's not an ACL or anything, so it's not like, oh, one of their brightest young talents just, went down the drain or anything like that. But this complicates the hell out of things for the Grizzlies, because the Grizz still, just by a thread, are hanging on to that 8th seed in the Western Conference. Not going to get into that battle just yet, but what's going on there is they haven't won a game yet. They're 0-4. And coming into this bubble, all the talk was like, this is not served up on a platter for the Grizzlies, but because these other teams that are behind them, they need other things to happen. They need guys in front of them to lose. They need they need a lot of things to go right for them. The Grizz, however, they just needed to steal a couple of games here, steal this game, steal that game. Don't let anybody get hurt, and that's exactly what's happened. They've lost every game. Now somebody's hurt. I don't have a high level of confidence in them making the playoffs at this point, holding on to the 8th seed. And it sucks, because I really do like Ja. As much of a Zion stan as I am, I really do like Ja Morant. I've enjoyed watching him play in the bubble. I enjoyed watching him play this season. But it is unfortunate for him because the Grizzlies weren't really necessarily slated to make the playoffs this year, and he comes in and has this amazing season, and the season gets cut short. Had the season not have gotten cut short, still, I think that's what some people might be missing here. Like, it's fun to joke about the schedule and the Pelicans, but they did, as far as I know, craft these schedules based off of what they had left when the season paused, like the strength of the schedule. And so that was the talk. If you remember back in March, we were all saying the Pelicans have this super easy schedule to end the season. The Grizz don't. The Grizz have to go through some juggernauts. They got to go through some powerhouses to make it. And so the Grizz still could have made it, especially because the Pelicans just fumble important games, like just like loose change. It's crazy. But the common opinion was, look, if that season doesn't end, maybe they do make it. This is going to be one of the many things people talk about with what ifs, down the future, like we could do anything about a damn pandemic, just cutting a season off, right? Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. The team of professionals at the Tax Defense Group are passionate about helping taxpayers resolve their tax debt. Their services include basic tax preparation, tax audits, resolving large tax debt, and more. They actively represent taxpayers throughout the entire USA. If you need help resolving your tax issues, contact the Tax Defense Group at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. But yeah, highly unfortunate for the Grizz, but bright future. So if you're a Grizz fan, even if you don't make the playoffs, it's not, it's not the worst thing. Yeah, it's not even like y'all have been out that long. What was the last playoffs y'all made? Yeah, y'all were in the playoffs in 2017, right? Playing against Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, that's when the Kawhi Leonard robot thing came out, I believe. Yeah, that was definitely 2017. So since I'm on injuries, because I have the notes kind of jumbled, we'll just go to the next injury that just came up. Again, another, what the fuck? Not meniscus this time, but knees. What's good with knees, bro? Ben Simmons, out indefinitely. Ben Simmons. This is significant. Oh, this is significant for a lot of reasons. Now, first of all, the weirdest knee injury I've ever seen in my life. If you watch the video, if you haven't seen it, just off my memory, he caught the ball on the wing or something like that and just moved, right? Literally just moved. No collision with anybody, no jumping, nothing high speed, just moved. And you could kind of see his knee tweak a little bit, but it wasn't apparent what happened. Now, see, it was scary from the beginning. It was scary from the beginning because non-contact injuries are always scary. Like, if you're just walking and something's just like, pops, and now you're like, damn, I didn't even hit nothing. That's probably a ligament or some shit like that. From what we know so far, it's just a temporary dislocation of the kneecap, which means his kneecap temporarily dislocated. It's not dislocated right now, as far as I know. It's also, as far as I know, no ligaments actually, tore or anything like that. But still, just a little minor moment could end up costing him like 6 weeks. As a matter of fact, it was the same type of injury that Andrew Bynum apparently had back in 2008, they said. And you never want to hear like a young and upcoming player in the same sentence as Andrew Bynum in terms of, health dealings. ever. Because Andrew Bynum was supposed to be dope. And, when he was finally able to play, it was really like he was just always managing this really bulky knee. So not that they have the same exact thing or same exact problem, but the significant thing here for the Sixers, look, I know there's all this talk about Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and do they fit? Are one of them going to get traded one day? All that's cool, but the Sixers aren't a better team right now without Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid for that matter, especially going into the playoffs. Going into the playoffs, you ideally want them both. Of course you fucking want them both. These are your two young stars, and you want to figure it out because of all the money that you have committed to some of these young guys. But, so, yeah, there's that. Ben Simmons does a lot for that team, obviously, as well, on defense and transition and rebounding, assist. He does a lot for that team. I told you all about the graphic that came up last week and the things that he was leading for the season. He's important. So, anybody going to come in with these advanced analytics about why Ben Simmons is not actually that important for the Sixers and why they're better without him, bro, just get out of my face, please. Get out of my face, please. Don't make me go there. What's bad here for Philly is that because of the way they were playing throughout the season, they are in the 6th seed. So they're on the opposite side of the bracket as all of the hard hitters in the East. The Celtics, the Raptors, the Bucks, and the Heat even. They're on the opposite side of those squads. And so right now, let me just double check so I don't misspeak, but as just off my memory, the best that they could do would basically be to hope that they play the Pacers in the first round. And what I'm trying to say is hide themselves until hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your point guards. The best they could do is hide themselves until the second round and hope that Ben Simmons could be back by then. But right now, even the latest data we have, it's indefinite. We don't know if he might have to have a season-ending scope on his knee, because of course, if that happens, then all this is out the window. But even if he could come back, like, see, yeah, right here they're currently a game behind the Indiana Pacers. Shout out to TJ Warren, Bubble Teej. They are 2 games behind the Miami Heat. And so yeah, that's basically as far as they could go, and they would need a lot to go right in the next week for that to happen without Ben Simmons on the floor. And so they would want, they would basically whatever combination can make them and the Pacers happen in the first round, because you don't want to play Miami, Boston, the Raptors, or the Bucks in the first round, for obvious reasons. Hell, I was just saying I didn't want to see all last week, but now that y'all don't have Ben Simmons, look, here's the thing, right? I don't agree. They're not a better team without Simmons. He does a lot for that team regardless. Give a damn about if he can't shoot a basketball, this, that, or the other thing. He still does a lot for that team, where it's like, yeah, you fear them in a first round matchup. Without Ben Simmons, now I'm looking at, okay, all eyes on Joel Embiid, which, by the way, it's really unfortunate that neither one of these guys can just be on the floor for, enough time at the same time for this squad to go anywhere, at least this season. Some people are trying to look at the bright side of this, mainly Philly fans, trying to look at the bright side of this and saying, hey, well, now this all eyes on Joel Embiid. Because all season you talk about, oh, well, and he talks about, you remember he was making those comments, the kind of, how do you say, subliminal comments that, guys need to shoot, guys need to take these shots. Of course, he wants more space to operate. Well, now he's got it. And he's been dominating inside the bubble, by the way. He's been eating. He had a crazy game against Indiana, and so did TJ. He had a crazy game against the Sixers when they played the other day. So now the focus changes. Now you're not trying to figure out things. Now you're not trying to figure out, okay, how do we, go forward with Ben Simmons maybe playing power forward. You're not trying to figure out any of that. You've got a focal point, and you're going to go with it. But I do have to say, without Ben Simmons, look, the general feeling I had about the Eastern Conference for probably, since the bubble started, and since we've come back, the general feeling that I've had is that, which is very weird, the general feeling I've had is that there's 5 teams where if any of them in the Eastern Conference end up in the NBA Finals, I won't be totally shocked. And of course, that's crazy, because coming from the Eastern Conference that we know, it's always been like 1 or 2 teams. It was like LeBron or the one team that beat LeBron. It was really like that for a while. But from the Milwaukee Bucks, even being as good as they have been, I still look at the Raptors and I still look at the way the Heat match up with them, and I'm like, yo, I wouldn't fall out of my chair if the Bucks lost to either one of these, because it wouldn't be that surprising, just having watched them play all season and watching how the things that they try to do with Giannis and the capable defenders that they have. Well, the capable team defense that the Raptors have, and the capable defenders like Bam Adebayo that the Miami Heat have. It wouldn't totally blindside me if that happened. Therefore, it wouldn't totally blindside me if one of those two also made the finals. And of course, you got the Celtics as well. They're 3rd seed. I'm not saying I expect them to make the finals, but again, I'm not totally just taken back, right? You're totally taken back if a team like the Pacers makes it. But okay, again, the Sixers, I had the Sixers as well with that. I did have, coming back into the bubble and seeing some of the changes that they made and, playing Shake Milton a little bit more, I was like, if, the Sixers hit a stride and with the defense that they're capable of, I wouldn't have been, of course, that would have been a really random change, because coming into the bubble, they hadn't played that well at all this season compared to what we thought. But you gotta remember, at the beginning of the season, Philly's roster, hell, I predicted them a 2nd seed. I had them at 2nd seed. I had Bucks 1, I had Sixers 2, I believe I had Boston 3 and Toronto 4, so, and then I probably had Miami at the 5. But yes, with the way things are now, I give a damn. Look, I agree that with one or of the other off the floor, with if you're just playing Ben Simmons or you're just playing Embiid, yeah, it's probably a little bit easier, probably maybe a little bit more balanced. We'll go with that. But now I would be taken back if they made a run and they made the finals. If this really just unlocks Embiid and they go God mode and all of a sudden they're a finals team, I would be shook. I would be mega shook. I don't see it without Ben Simmons. And if it did happen, excuse me, damn, I got swallowed a fly or something. Fucking Florida. Yeah, and if something like that did happen, if Embiid went on some mega run and the Sixers took out the Bucks and the Raptors, if something crazy like that happened, then yeah, I think that would be the ultimate call, and people would be like, all right, well, yeah, now you got to split those two up, right? But I don't expect that that's what's going to happen here. I feel sorry for Philly and Philly fans and NBA fans. I feel like we were robbed of something here. Brett Brown was talking, he didn't really want to let how much this hurt out, but I saw his quote. He was like, "Yeah, this one stings," and you get what you mean, like you're right. Like you come out of a quarantine and you go down here and you think you can make some progress, and boom, like one of your two best players just gone like that. Since we were talking about the Eastern Conference, should I throw that in now? No, I'm gonna throw that in at the end because LeBron James, at one podcast, he acknowledged the whole Eastern Conference thing, and then this week we had the whole "I did it" quote. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit because that spurred the same conversation we've been having about the Eastern Conference. But anyways, I'll get to that one a little bit down the road. Okay, okay, the Raptors, Toronto Raptors, they beat the Lakers this week. For the game, they were in control pretty much the whole time. They took Anthony Davis out of the game. They made him, they took all of his aggressiveness away, all of his looks away, pretty much. And it comes to this thing where people ask, are the Raptors a real contender? Because it's clear by this point they are a great team, no doubt. They are right on par, or even maybe a little bit better record-wise than they were when Kawhi played last year. Although I don't think anybody, agrees that they're a better team without Kawhi. Because, if they had Kawhi Leonard right now, I think they would probably be the easy favorites for a repeat. So you throw Kawhi onto this defensive scheme, man, that's crazy. It's actually crazy that existed. I think the only reason it probably wasn't as hyped last season is because we had the Warriors out there with KD up until the last moment. And so when they had KD that whole time, we were just like, yeah, that's not gonna, nothing else really matters. We were in a nothing else matters stage. But, I'll answer that for you, because somebody actually asked me what I thought about that. And yeah, no, I do absolutely see the Raptors as real contenders. I don't see them as pretenders. They play defense at a level that you really, it's so night and day with some other teams that you see. And their ability to lock in on a star player and just be like, okay, we're gonna take this specific player out of the game tonight. It's been that way, right? Isn't how they slowed Giannis down in the playoffs last year? But again, they had Kawhi, so they're doing this without Kawhi this year. And the most recent example I think you saw was against the Los Angeles Lakers, where Anthony Davis, man, they were just like, yo, somebody else will beat us tonight. Somebody else. It's going to be somebody else. It's not going to be the guys you want it to be. And so they were playing the Miami Heat the other day, which is important because they may end up, playing them in the playoffs some way, somehow. And Jay Crowder, they were giving Jay Crowder a lot of open shots. And, you had Miami fans saying, no, we're just missing right now. And I was just like, yo, the Heat are okay. I'm sorry, not the Heat, the Raptors. They're okay with him taking that shot. It's by design. If you watch what they're doing on defense, the way they move, who they're loading help on and whatnot, it's especially when, because I don't believe, the Heat don't have a, Giannis type player, obviously. But when it is like a Giannis or an AD type player, it's like, cool, buddy over there standing in the corner, or buddy over there on the wing for a three. We're going to live with that before we live with this guy terrorizing the paint. And so they really don't let anybody in the paint. That's really what it is. They are moving around. They are active. They're rotating. They don't let anybody in the paint. And, yeah, defense wins championships. They're not my pick to win the NBA title. I don't want to get it confused. I really do like watching the Raptors and think they're real contenders, but they're still not my pick because I do think, well, we know from past experience, once you get to the playoffs, you do need, that... it happens, right? The 04 Pistons won without the guy. They didn't have Carmelo Anthony at the time. They didn't have a, LeBron James type player. The 04 Pistons went and did that as underdogs. So it could happen. And they've got their guys as well. Pascal Siakam, he's a top player. You got Fred VanVleet, who ever since he had a child, man, it's just been going off. It's crazy. I'm wondering what's going to end up happening with his contract situation. Is somebody going to overpay? It would be damaging as hell for Toronto to lose that guy. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But as far as seeing them, potentially coming out of the East or beating a Milwaukee, again, I just got done talking about the East. Not going to throw me out of my seat because that kind of transitions to us talking about the Bucks right now. When I watch the Bucks, I see the same type of issues that I saw that got them beat last year. I just do, man. I just do. And the Bucks are not my pick either. I just quit dancing around it. I told you all year my pick to win the championship was the Clippers. I haven't moved off that yet. I said that at the beginning of the season. I maintain that. They're still my pick right now, assuming that they'll be healthy and have everybody throughout the playoffs. But I'm watching the Bucks play. And knowing what the Raptors are going to want to do, and hell, even knowing what Miami is going to do, anybody with the actual personnel and the defensive scheme to be able to pull it off, they're still going to try to exploit the same things from Giannis that they did last year. And even though Giannis has gotten a little bit better by the numbers this season, let's just call it what it is. I'm not on the same train as James Harden or some other people are saying Giannis has no skill, but he does not have the deepest bag for a superstar. There's sometimes I watch him try to hit, a shot that you would be, because the most comparison that you get when you look at the body type and being that tall and being able to handle the ball all over the court, you think of a KD, right? Not in play style, but when you look at Giannis, tall, really lanky players, and that can handle the ball again, that's what you think about. But the thing that makes KD so fearsome is that he can pull up from anywhere, and if his back is to the basket on you, when he turns around, that fade could be money easily. It doesn't matter what you do, right? And Giannis, it's not. I don't have any news here telling you that Giannis doesn't have the same bag, but I still watch at the end of games sometimes certain situations where a team has got that wall up. They've got the wall. Giannis is looking at it. He takes a couple of dribbles, and then he passes it off to somebody on the wing. Here, you go create. Because they're daring him to shoot the basketball. Because even though he will, and he has shown the willingness, which is amazing, right? The willingness to shoot the three, and he's even improved it. That's cool. But I'm still going to live with that. I'm still going to live with Giannis taking a dribble pull-up. I'm still today going to live with Giannis taking a turnaround jump shot. Obviously, you don't let him get too close to the damn basket, and then it's just a hook shot. You don't want that. But I'm still cool with that, though, as opposed to him putting you in a spin cycle like he did to Miami today. Man spun like 3 times in the clutch and dunked it, because what can you really do? There was nobody really big enough on the floor to stop that at the point that he was doing it. But to me, when I watch the Bucks, there's still too many things that I'm cool with for me to be comfortable looking at them and saying that's my NBA champion. Now, again, that Giannis is the MVP, in my opinion. Both things can be true, right? Today's episode is also brought to you by Junkie. Are you thinking about starting a business or a side hustle? Well, for all business to be successful, you need a website. Junkie offers website development, content writing, and SEO services for business websites. Call Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. He's still the MVP in my opinion. Chris Middleton can still go off like a firecracker. And Kawhi Leonard is not in the Eastern Conference anymore. They don't have that roadblock that it looked like they were going to have for a while. I remember I made a video last year about the Eastern Conference, and I assumed that Kawhi and Giannis might be battling for years to come. I was excited about that. So you don't have that second guy in the conference right now to match it until KD comes back, and hopefully he's healthy next year. So they still have the power to, overpower a team and get through the conference. They still have the talent there, but I'm not fully comfortable with it. Because there's still something you can look at and just be like, okay, yeah, we're going to give this team that. And especially Toronto beat them last year with Kawhi Leonard, but they're going to come back this year. They meet in the playoffs again. They're going to be like, all right, cool. We're about to pull this. We're going to pull the same shit. We're going to try to pull the same shit. At least maybe we don't have Kawhi to go back at him this year and dunk on him and, just put up crazy numbers. Maybe we don't have that, but we have the defensive blueprint, and that bag hasn't gotten terribly deeper. And I would be if I was a Bucks fan, see the Raptors as a legitimate threat. That's my opinion right now. Who knows? With my luck, we'll get to the conference finals and the Bucks will win in fucking 5 all of a sudden. And Giannis will go straight MVP mode. But from where I sit right now, that just wouldn't. Like I said, Heat, Raptors, neither one would fully surprise me. And as it pertains to the Raptors defense, there's something. There's something to be said when there's that willingness to say, hey, that role player has to win the game, because that's also a mental thing as well, right? Like, if there's a role player and he gets 3 straight shots and he misses all 3 of them, all of a sudden he starts feeling a little bit shaky. And so you absolutely want that role player taking that same shot from the wing or wherever else, because we were keying in on the superstar player. You absolutely want him bombing out there rather than having the MVP or the superstar of that team getting hot, right? Just getting easy layups and dunks. And so if he shoots 4 threes and he hits one of them, maybe you live with that. I'm just saying, man, that Raptors defense, they bite, bro. Raptors, they bite. I probably just got tomatoed in the Twitch chat for that. So Toronto was one of 2 teams to defeat the Los Angeles Lakers, the other being OKC, and therefore that led to people, now we're having these really weird things, right? Conversations about the Lakers' struggles, Danny Green being the best Raptors teammate, or the best, how did they say it? I forgot, something about Oh yeah, they said Danny Green had been the best player for the Raptors when LA and Toronto beat this season because he's just couldn't hit the side of a barn basically. Look, as far as it goes with the Lakers, they clinched first seed. They're in a weird situation. I have no clue what this off-court shit they're talking about is, because they asked LeBron James about it the other day, and he was like, oh yeah, there's some stuff off-court I don't really want to get into. Now, apparently it had something to do with, like, missing his family or something. I don't know. I read some, like, weird shit on Twitter. We don't have any answers for any of that. But as far as, like, are the Lakers... should we be worried about the Lakers struggling? Well, one thing that's coming up that I heard even Doris Burke talking about, and that people are starting to talk about, is Avery Bradley and perimeter defense. You know, him not being there, we kind of forget quickly that, yeah, he was there last time the Lakers were playing. He's not there now. Laker fans hate Rondo. You heard the commentators talking a lot about the guard play for the Lakers. Now they're missing Avery Bradley and Rondo, and they were using Rondo, but Laker fans fucking hate Rondo. So, you know, that's just kind of that. But as far as what I would have to say about the Lakers is, well, they clinched first seed. You're in this bubble. Who do they even have remaining? They won the game that, like, I think mentally they would really want to win, which was against the Clippers, because they tied them. They went 2-2, although the Clippers were missing hella bodies that night. The Lakers have left. Of course, they just lost to the Rockets. They didn't play LeBron James, so, you know, what can you really tell from that? They have the Pacers left, they have the Nuggets left, and they have the Kings left. You already locked up the first seed. You're not going to see the Pacers in the playoffs. You might see the Kings in the playoffs, but you know, maybe you'll see the Kings in the playoffs, but are you really scared of that? And the Nuggets are the only team here where it's like you would want some type of mental edge, I guess, over. So they have like one game left that they probably care about. And having already locked up the conference, you're weighing that against also, hey, we haven't played basketball together in 4 months. No, 5, 4 or 5 months from when the quarantine started. We haven't played basketball together, so you're also trying to get things like your legs under you, you're trying to get your chemistry, you're trying to just kind of get together, right? So you're weighing that against these games that you probably don't really care much about. Also, when you've already, there's no consequence for losing these either. There's literally no consequence. At this point, you're probably hoping that nobody gets hurt. That's another thing you're weighing against having already locked everything up, right? Is, damn, what if AD goes down with a brutal ankle injury against the Nuggets? What if, LeBron tweaks something right before the damn playoffs, right? It makes me wonder how much those guys are even going to play. And that's something that Vogel hasn't managed, because how much do you need to play since you've been off so long? Since this is kind of like the playoff preseason, I guess you would say. So I think that's kind of, what's complicating that situation right now. Again, they're not my pick to win the West in the first place. I think when it comes down to it, and we're in the conference finals, and they're presumably playing a healthy Clippers team, I think the Clippers are going to get that off of them. So I guess that's another thing. Maybe if you're looking at the Lakers as a championship team, well, yeah, I mean, they are a championship level team. Any team with LeBron and AD should be. But I'm not reading too deep into, what's going on or what's happened. Because when they played OKC the other day, that's the game where it was like, okay, we're first seed. OKC is playing for something. Pride aside from the fact that they weren't even, slated to be in the playoffs, and now they're here at, what are they? Damn, they're fifth seed. They're half a game out of fourth, so they might be a top 4 team this year. So yeah, that team is hungry. That team is led by an ultra competitor in Chris Paul. They're playing for something, and they're really good, by the way. I'm not saying that their win was meaningless against LA. I'm just saying these aren't the type of games that I measure the Lakers by. Just kind of like how where you could say, oh, well, here we go again. LeBron's not on the floor. They get destroyed by the Rockets tonight. I'm like, yeah, let me see when everybody's on the floor. That's kind of what I want to see, because that's most indicative to what happens in the playoffs. Unless somebody gets hurt, and then it's a totally different ball game. I think ultimately the Lakers, they're going to be okay, but again, this is just a thing when you're in the Western Conference, which shout out to Braun for being first seed in the West. We'll get to that later, but you have a tough road here regardless. In the first round, the way it's looking, you might end up playing the Trailblazers. It's a thing that could happen with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. You don't necessarily have a great defensive combo for that right now, especially down or sans Avery Bradley. You don't have a great defensive combo for that. In the second round, you might see something like the Oklahoma City Thunder. That might be it. Let's say the Thunder take that. That is a thing that could very well happen. And then after that, you can get to the conference finals and play the Lakers or the Clippers. Not gonna play themselves. It's not 2K. Congratulations, you played yourself. Yeah, nah, that could happen. And then you can go to the finals and you could face a very tough Raptors team, or you can face the MVP, or take your pick. Right? It's gonna be a tough run. It's gonna be a tough run for these guys, regardless. They win this championship, they're gonna have to get this one out the mud. Which, oh, by the way, I should add that in there because I saw Mike Wazimba tweet about it, and I retweeted it because I co-signed. Yeah, as far as any asterisk talk on this championship, until such as somebody has to leave like a game 7 because their wife had a baby or some shit like that, which even then, that's up to the player that left. Look, until such as we have a true situation where we can say, okay, the bubble did that, I do agree. The level of basketball that's being played, there is no type of asterisk or anything on this championship. I made a video of Barbershop Talk back when we were deep into quarantine. Hell, we were probably like a month or two in, and we didn't even know what any of this was going to look like. I was saying that in the future, in years from now, I think people are going to look back at this and say like, oh, well, everything counts that happens in the NBA, but I thought people were going to look at this one funny, and definitely, especially if it's somebody's first ring like Giannis and he never wins another championship, I thought people would look back at it and say, yeah, that championship, again, looks kind of funny, which again, they still might once, because we're living through it right now and we see how awesome this is, but once we get into the future and narrative wasteland and all that, maybe that's something that comes around. But right now, the level of basketball that's being played, hell, dare I even say, some of the players look more comfortable in an empty gym. It's like, I don't have the statistics on that, so I could just be talking bullshit. But when I'm watching some of these guys and the moves they're making and the shots they're taking and making, I'm like, yo, this looks kind of easier for them. This looks like summer hoop sometimes. Like, this really looks like the things that I see on Instagram, on Chris Brickley's Instagram feed. It looks a lot easier for some of these guys in here. Point being, it's a good brand of basketball. These guys kept themselves in shape. It seems like most of the contending teams are going to have everybody they need going into the playoffs. When you start talking about shape and worrying about shape, you're looking at some of the bottom teams like the Pelicans with Zion. That's kind of what you're looking at. LeBron doesn't fully seem to be himself yet. He's not his full dominant self, but again, I'm waiting for the playoffs at this moment for him to really turn it on, because again, just what can you tell from a team that's not played in months and has already clinched their first seed, and they don't have many meaningful games left against some teams that they really need to dominate, right? And the teams that they needed to dominate, 2 out of 3 so far. You might see the Jazz, AD just fucking tore Gobert up. That was a fun one. Twitter was having fun with that because apparently Gobert has some staunch defenders out there. You put the Clippers and tied that season series, which again, when they get Trez back and you got Luke Will, I think it'll be a little bit different. But yes, long story short, I fully agree. The level of basketball we're seeing right now, I'm just as excited for the playoffs right now as I would be in a regular year. And the environment is really important as well. I believe the environment is important because, well, at least for us, the viewer, like I told you in a previous podcast, I had it going totally different in my head. I thought it was going to be like some straight like summer league shit. Orlando Summer League, when you see they're just playing in that gym and there's like no sound or anything. I thought it was gonna feel like a scrimmage. I thought the playoffs were gonna feel like scrimmages, and so far the games, the intensity level, it's all there, right? Everything that I look for in a regular basketball game is all there, I believe, except for the crowd and people yelling and cursing at the players and all that shit. And if you're in Utah, being racist, but let me stop. So I agree with Mike there. Before I because I really actually do want to get to the A seed situation that's going on. Yeah, these teams are definitely in a situationship down there. Somebody did, by the way, on Twitter these days I am putting out a podcast topics tweet before I record. So if there's anything that I missed or that I think I might have missed, y'all can contribute. Somebody was talking about the Rockets being a real contender. Same thing as the Raptors. Because, again, the Rockets right now, they're tied for 5th, which is, again, that scenario we were talking about with Westbrook being on the team or finishing below the team that traded him. That wasn't even supposed to make the playoffs. That's, again, just narrative wasteland. Not that I agree, but narrative wasteland could be crazy in a couple of years. It looks like they might finish 6th and end up... Ooh, damn, I didn't even think about what that meant. They might end up playing like the Nuggets in the first round. That's cool. Well, anyways, Houston being a serious contender. Of course, we have that conversation because of what they decided to do. Tried to revolutionize basketball in a way where they took small ball, like literal. Because you have the Warriors death lineup, but they still have a guy like Draymond Green that can, legitimately hold his own against other big men in the league. So they said, nah, we're playing literal just guards and forwards. This is the Rockets now. And PJ Tucker at center, and Robert Covington. That's what my friend used to call him. I'm not sure if that's what Philly fans all called him, Rocco, or if y'all call him that. I don't know. Covington being out there. Yeah, it's literal just shooters. They're trying to break basketball, man. They're like, for real. No sarcasm involved here. They're trying to break basketball. Because when you watch them play, it's so free flowing. It's you can predict every one of a Houston Rockets possession. We recently launched our website, ucaststudios.com, with articles about sports, special interest topics, and more. We've got some cool stuff there. To read our content, please visit ucaststudios.com. It seems like it just comes down to this. You have James Harden with the ball. You know nobody can guard James Harden one-on-one. He's an offensive cheat code. He can hit some of the toughest shots you'll ever see. Or he can just drive by you. So defense got choices. They can come and bring help, or they can show some help, or even double team him. And of course, when that happens, here comes rotation. Defense starts rotating, got to get to the open man. The ball is going to swing. One way or another, out of that situation, the Rockets probably end up with an open three. If you don't bring any help, James Harden has the option of just Harden Island. Dribble, step back, bucket. You know, he can do that. Or he can choose to drive by the player, which he can always get by. And he's so good at drawing fouls that, what are you really going to do? So he can get there and he can draw a foul. He can get an easy layup. Or if help comes, he can kick it out. There you go. Rotation, eventually finds an open guy, three-pointer. And there you go. That's Houston Rockets basketball right there. You got, oh yeah, and throw some Westbrook in there as well. Westbrook cutting off ball and whatnot. And of course, if he's the one, same thing with him. I mean, he's still quick as lightning. So drive and kick with Westbrook. He's got the most space he's ever had. And he can finish as well. So that's Rockets basketball for you. It's not really complicated. And they are, I heard Dwayne Wade talking about it the other day. He's like, yeah, they go against everything you were ever taught about with basketball. They go against the whole thing of you're not winning if you don't get rebounds. You're not winning if you're not great at defense. You know, all the fundamental things. Yeah, they've thrown that out for our offensive game plan is technically flawless. We're gonna put up points. Are you gonna put up points with us? That's really it. And so my position throughout the season has been something like I watched them play the Clippers throughout the season, and I had said, like, yeah, although the Clippers are my chances, they are my pick to win the championship. If they somehow ended up upsetting the Clippers, I could see how that would happen. At this point, I could see how the Rockets, if they ended up winning, like if I close my eyes and for some reason tonight I don't wake up until the finals and the Rockets were there, well, it's like, well, I know how it happened. Like, it's not gonna be anything, insane, because it's like they're hard for anybody to guard. They confuse the shit out of a lot of teams. Another thing, you could tell people be confused, right? Because you'll have a team like the Blazers, who won, by the way. Oh yeah, I gotta talk about the Blazers. Well, we will. I'm gonna get to the Blazers. Just gutsy as hell. But they beat them. Portland beat them. Houston beat the Bucks. But the thing that you saw was, like, you'll have Brook Lopez posting up against Houston, or you'll have Nurkic posting up, or Zach Collins, and man, do these dudes rush to get a layup. It's like they're so excited at the prospect of 2 points and being able to shoot over a chair or throw a hook over a chair that they blow it. They just go super quick, and maybe they're trying to beat Houston's help or trying to beat their double team before they get there. But they go, it's not just like, in 2K, you feel like you could just abuse that, right? If it was just 2K, you just straight post up, you just straight post your big guy, spin inside, drop step, just break the defense totally, and it never works like that. It doesn't feel like it ever works like that when you're watching a Houston game. They don't often fall behind. One of the only games I have in my memory where that really happened was the Magic when they were playing with Vucevic. When Vucevic did that, and the Magic actually ended up blowing them out that night, I believe. That's like one of the only examples I have of that. So, I mean, it'll still be tough. Like, again, playoff basketball gets a little bit different. I could see the Rockets, they're going to be annoying as hell for somebody, assuming they get this 6th seed right here. They might end up playing, at this point, I don't think the Jazz are going to move up. That's going to be Clippers and Nuggets, it looks like to me. You got Clippers, or the Nuggets half a game behind the Clippers. Yeah, it looks to me like it's going to be one of those two. With the way Utah's playing, I don't see them taking that from the Nuggets. So, big man you would play against Denver would obviously be Jokic. Or you're going to be playing, the Clippers whose offensive attack is not really coming from the paint. But then there's teams like the Lakers who are, with Anthony Davis. And then, yeah, the Nuggets, who they could end up playing. No, not my pick. Not my pick, and even if they did end up playing the Clippers in the first round, I think that would be annoying, and I think it would be a good series. I think it'd be annoying for the Clippers, but I do think ultimately I still feel the way I felt at the beginning of the season, where at the end of the day, they do still have two of the best perimeter defenders there, in Paul George and Kawhi. And so it'll be a challenge, but I think they have the personnel to put that series away. Kind of the same reason that Dallas, I don't think they want to see the Clippers right now, because even though they look like they're gonna have to in the first round, because you got Luka out there who's like your focal point in terms of ball handling and whatnot, and he's depending on who they have guard him all game. I saw they had Morris on him a lot today, but yeah, the Clippers, by the way, they played Dallas today. That was a great game until the end, until they pulled away. I still got the Clippers in like 5 or 6 in that one as well. Yeah, I mean, the Rockets are just, they're that tricky team. They're that team that really makes me sit here and just like scratch through my beard. Like, or my, this is not a beard. So just call this shit like what, a goatee. Yeah. It just had me sitting here scratching my goatee like, yeah, I mean, I could see how it could happen. But I'm not, I wouldn't pick them, though. I wouldn't pick them. I don't know. We'll see. They're, like I said, exciting case study going on with them. Same thing with I always talk about the Nuggets being a case study, because MPJ is coming up, man. MPJ is coming up in the world. He may be funny as hell in the light with some of his non-basketball conversations. But hey, look. At the end of the day, I want to see young talent prosper unless they're just like batshit crazy, and the NBA don't have a lot of batshit crazy people. Well, damn, he did say some batshit crazy stuff, but he not too wild with it. Look, just let me get off that. The Nuggets, they need this. They need this. MPJ in his last few games, he had consecutive 30-point games, and then I think he had like 27 tonight before the Nuggets basically conceded to the Blazers. We had a hood classic going on, and then the Nuggets took their people out. I thought Jokic fouled out or something. I saw he had 2 fouls. I'm like, why is he not playing? But this is what teams are doing. This is what teams are doing on the stretch. Rightfully so. Nobody needed to sprain an ankle before the end of this thing. But yes, what they need, that second star. And MPJ, from the time that he got drafted there, from the time that he finally started playing this season, this is what I had been saying anyways. And I think a lot of people probably had. You look at his talent, and you're like, yes, this can be their second guy with Jokic. Because I think for the most part, the Nuggets have looked like Jokic and some good players, right? A good supporting cast. But you don't look at the Nuggets as like a super duo or anything like that. I think down the road, and you're starting to see some of it right now, hopefully it continues into the playoffs, because that could change a lot. I think MPJ is trying to, it will eventually, rise to be that duo partner. He's definitely got the offensive talent for it. Right now, he makes some young player mistakes, specifically on defense. But I see Mike Malone trusting him a little bit more because he's being aggressive. That's the thing. His first 30-point game, he came out and he was just more aggressive than I had seen him so far. Like, offense has never been his issue, but, like, he's really trying to carve out his spot. Because I always talk about the Nuggets do have that issue. Or, not really issue, but they have that situation where there's young guys that need minutes, but you're also somewhat a contending team. And so, yeah, he's really just trying to take that. And, yeah, hopefully they take that and just run with it. Because I think Jokic and MPJ will probably be their duo future. And then we'll see what happens with Bold as well. I think he has some time to go as far as development. He's coming off the bench right now. I feel like I had more to say about Denver. Did I? Nah, whatever. Maybe it'll come to me. I'm going to talk about this AC situation now. I'll probably make this its own topic. Normally I just have NBA bubble play as the topic, but AC really needs its own topic because, man, this is crazy. And this is another thing I did not account for. Yeah, I was thinking of this whole play-in thing. Wow, is Chrome failing me right now on Basketball Reference? This is some Mozilla shit, Chrome. Normally I press something and it doesn't respond. That's some Mozilla shit, bro. Alright, well here we are. So yeah, when you look at the Eastern Conference again, Washington is out of this by now. Yeah, they're out. So the eight teams are set. This is so weird to look at. The Wizards are actually technically 10th seed. And they're not, the other teams aren't even playing like we established earlier. So I hadn't really been thinking about like how crazy the West actually is and the opportunities that actually reside in the West. Mainly because I don't think I grasped that the 9th seed only has to be within 4 games. So a play-in at this point is probably going to happen. 9th seed only has to be within 4 games of the AC to trigger a play-in. At this point, the Grizzlies are either going to fall out of AC totally, or they're going to have to play somebody for that spot. That's really what's going to happen here. The way it's trending, with losing Jaren Jackson, with not having won a game, yeah, that's probably going to happen. With the way the teams are playing behind them, yeah, that's probably going to happen. So tonight, as I'm making this, teams behind them are number 9, Portland Trail Blazers. 1 full game behind them are 10, Spurs. tied with them, actually. That can't be right. Has this updated? Damn, but don't fail me now. Has this updated? Ah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, okay, yeah. So aside from some of their placements being wrong, yeah, the game is now ended. So just as I'm sitting here talking, because the game is ended, the Houston Rockets have actually moved to 4th. So what I was talking about a little bit earlier, yeah, I could have probably just left that in there and said, hey, I recorded this last night. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, different conversation here, sorry. Houston Rockets have moved into 4th place. Game and a half behind the Denver Nuggets. The Jazz are 5th. So if the playoffs started today, the Rockets would own that home court. Well, there is no home court, technically. Although I did see a record that showed like the teams that have home branding and their home crowd they're doing better right now than the quote-unquote away team. So that's funny. So that actually slides OKC to 6, but it's still being figured out. OKC is literally only a half a game, so that all that's gonna still move around a little bit. Okay, so the 8 seed conversation though. So yeah, Portland Trailblazers are half a game behind Memphis. They're half a game behind Memphis. The Phoenix Suns are 1.5 games at number 10 behind the Portland Trailblazers. At number 11, the San Antonio Spurs are, yeah, they're tied. They're tied with the Suns, so same difference there. And then you have the Kings, who pulled ahead of the Pelicans today, yet they are actually tied. Yeah, their record is tied, but the Sacramento Kings are above them in the standing. So yeah, it goes Blazers, Suns, Spurs, Kings, Pelicans. And all of them still have a chance for this play-in. Again, the last place team is the Pelicans. They're only 2 games out of 9th. Now, here's the thing. I guess I'll start from the bottom and go up. The Pelicans have been disappointing. They've won 1 game, so they're 1-3, and they're 4 games in the bubble so far. And none more disappointing than what happened today. So they come out and they play the Kings, and I looked at this going, ooh, the Blazers are in trouble. The Blazers' last games, they had to play the Houston Rockets, they had to play the Nuggets today, then I was like, they had the Sixers back when they still had Ben Simmons. But yeah, admittedly, you know, with Embiid and that whatever they're going to run there, that's still going to be a tough game. But hell, they're capable now. This is so doable, because after that, they only play like the Nets, and they play oh yeah, I had the Nets and Sixers together. Whatever. The Portland Trailblazers is doable for them now. They've gotten past some of the toughest parts of that road that I thought they had left. But the Pelicans, on the other hand, I looked at their schedule and I was like, okay, they play the Kings, the Magic, they play the Kings again. They had a really easy road here. I got what people finally meant when I was like, oh, because at first they started off playing the Clippers and Jazz. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? People are saying they have an easy road. Like, every game matters, and these are 2 of their games right here. These are 2 of the 8. But yeah, no, they did have a good look. And the Kings came out today and posted nearly a 50-point first quarter. 50. They were, Bogdanovic, crazy. I know he was sorry yesterday or whatever. He had a tough performance. He came out and would not miss. The whole Kings team as a collective would not miss. The Pelicans really wouldn't play any defense. I did see his high on shape affecting him at a certain point, although he played fantastic on the offensive end. There was a point where like Zion threw him a lob that I feel like, you know, had the season had just played normally, he would have caught pretty easily. It was toward the back end of the game. Couldn't quite catch it. And then on defense, yeah, you could really see he's not really all there in terms of his wind, and it shouldn't be. He's had a very weird rookie season because he had the unexpected knee surgery that came up. He missed a ton of games, and he finally came back, and the Pelicans are in the middle of this playoff hunt, and it's like, yo, we want to see this guy play. He can really help y'all make the playoffs, but Alvin Gentry is probably like, hey, I have a job on the line. If something happens to this kid, that's my head. So I give a damn if you want us to make the 8th seed just so we can get beat. I gotta look towards the future here. And but as the season was going on, he was getting more playtime. You were starting to see him play a little bit more, and they weren't just, you know, pulling him as soon as he did something great. And I think he actually missed a game or 2. He missed some games during the regular season as well with, I think they said knee soreness. It was something like that. So it was the situation was fluid, but they were ramping him up. And then, of course, the season stops. So the bubble starts. He comes for training camp. And then he has to leave because of a family issue. So he didn't really even... a family issue, and apparently he was experiencing calf tightness. So he did not even get to do the camp with the Pelicans. He didn't get a good amount of practice time. So it's like this whole cycle has restarted. It's all started over. This is kind of me tackling the whole Zion question because Zion's playtime was a topic for this. And how did I feel about it? Well, it's annoying. Like, as a fan, I'm obviously annoyed because I'm like, bro, Zion's first game was almost a year ago now in preseason when we watched him in preseason, and it feels like we've been watching these what you call these bursts. We've been watching and how they play him, these little couple of minutes, and then he's out, and then he's in again in the next quarter, then he's right back out. Oh, hey, there's an important game here. There's an important minutes. Maybe we should play him. Nah, we're not gonna play him. Yeah, of course I'm annoyed as hell. But I also get it because he is not in shape, and because he had to restart with this whole bubble thing and didn't actually get the playtime with the Pelicans. With them in their facility, not facility. What the fuck am I talking about? Training camp. You know what I'm talking about. I get it, but it's also I felt like they could have managed some of this better. So I can't remember what game it was at the beginning. I think it was like one of their first games, if not their first game. They were playing important game, and they used up all of Zion's allotted minutes before the end of the fourth, before they got to where it was a close game, where it was a winnable game, but they couldn't put him back in because they had already used those minutes. They allocated him wrong, and I was like, yo, you put him in this game right now at the end, because of the pressure he puts on defenses, you have a way better chance of winning this, and they couldn't do it, and so therefore they lost. Therefore they're in the situation they're in right now. And look, he's going to be great. Everybody could see it. I think we stopped saying this whole thing about, oh, when he plays people that are stronger, things are going to be crazy. Like, I think we stopped saying that a while ago. Watching him against the Kings, it's the same thing. Everybody he plays, right? I've watched pretty much every Zion game this season. Pretty much, right? Don't hold me to I didn't see everything. But I saw most of his games this season, a majority of them. And it's just like a layup line because people aren't strong enough to deal with that kid. Right now, he's like a damn football player on a basketball court, but he just dribble, pick and roll, receive the pass, take a couple dribbles in, great finisher, great touch around the rim. He doesn't even always have to be trying to dunk on people or anything like that. It's not, today was just straight layups, bro. Just straight off glass. I was like, wow, his rookie compilation is really just gonna be layups mostly and a couple of alley-oop catches. Because the game is that easy for him right now. He's that strong, he has that good of a finishing ability. He's a good passer. I would probably say an underrated passer because he pulls that out in the few minutes that he gets, he pulls out, the passing. He had a great behind-the-back pass to Lonzo. I think it was Lonzo on a fast break a couple of games ago. Today, he was up in the air and made a really good pass to Derek Favors. Like, the kid is going to be fire. But with what's going on right now, you can clearly see that the wind affects him on defense sometimes, and that Gentry is dead afraid of losing Zion, really, because this is their future. And they are in an uphill battle now, because the Pelicans didn't play defense today, and the Kings they shot like they had to be above 1,000%, bro. Every time the Pelicans tried to make a run, the Kings absolutely needed this game. They hadn't won a game yet. This was their first win of the bubble, so they really needed this. Otherwise, especially because it was against the Pelicans, otherwise the Pelicans would probably pull too far ahead. It wouldn't be in the Kings. The ball wouldn't be in their court anymore to actually make the playoffs. The way it is right now. Yeah, everybody right now fighting for that last spot has 4 games left. Portland has, to me, gotten past the part where I was like, damn, bro, the NBA fed them to the wolves. Because, of course, it was the strength of what they had remaining. But they're a game and a half above the Suns, who haven't lost yet, by the way. Shout out to the Suns. Devin Booker in his game winner against the Clippers. That man is hooping. DeAndre Ayton is hooping. The Suns are what, if you follow me on Twitch, they're what we affectionately refer to as a fake 8 seed, or sometimes a 7 seed. So when a team, for whatever reason, they're way too good. Fuck, I don't have to explain that. You know what that is. Yeah, they're too good to be back there. DeAndre Ayton missed a lot of games when he tested positive, not for corona, but for you don't test positive for the drugs, do you? Whatever it was, performance enhancement, whatever it is, some shit he wasn't supposed to have. Missed a lot of games. We were already looking at the Suns before that happened. We were like, man, they could have been nice this season. And so now here they are, and they've got the gang together. Minus cash considerations from last season. Cash considerations is in Portland hooping now, or in Indiana. But apparently a lot of Suns fans say Mr. TJ, didn't really fit what they had going on down there. And apparently nobody would know that because they don't watch Phoenix games. But hey, they do now, so. So Phoenix is looking really nice. There's a Suns fan asked me what I thought just like 2 days ago where they were at the bottom. And I was like, yeah, they're fun, but it's still an uphill battle because of what's in front of them. And what you have, and hell, even behind them for that matter. I kind of think, let me just go in order here. Let me try to stay in order where I was. I think because of what I see with the Pelicans and, you know, them coming out to a super important game like the Kings today, they're not my pick. They're who I wanted to make it, but in a super important game to come out as lifeless as they did today, I don't, you know, have high hopes anymore. Mathematically, it obviously could happen, but they need some other things to go their way now too, because they are 13th and they are 2 games outside of that 9th seed. So with only 4 games left, you need some things to happen here, and nothing is trending in their favor. They're gonna play the Kings again, so that helps. San Antonio Spurs are trying to keep their streak alive. They're 2-2. I mean, that's a team nobody wants to make it, because this, again, if you follow me on Twitch, I'm gonna make a shirt like that. Follow us on Twitch. Yeah, this is always, you know, we always have to pick a team to hate on because we don't want them to ruin a fun matchup. And just like, look, I love Popovich to death. God knows I do. And I appreciate Spurs basketball, but out of all the options we have right now for an A seed, I mean, hell, it comes down to Spurs and Kings for me. I wouldn't care which one of those made it. I would rather see the other 3 than them, or the other 4 even. I don't know, Memphis without Jaren Jackson, I'm not sure anymore. Either way, the what's trending right now, again, the Suns playing excellent basketball, and Portland. Damian Lillard just refuses to let this go, man. I have so much respect and love for Lillard as a player, because I've been keeping up with his career since the first time, since he was hooping in his rookie year. I remember how delighted I was. I always bring that up, how delighted I was as a senior to, you know, really have him come out of nowhere. I hadn't heard of him yet, so to have him hooping the way he was immediately, like out of the gate, his first game against the Lakers, man was fire. And he hasn't missed the playoffs since then. He's never missed the playoffs since that season, since his rookie year. And the reason that's so impressive is because one year, everyone dipped on him, bro. He had a nice squad before when it was him and Wesley Matthews, Nick Batum, LaMarcus Aldridge. They had a nice team. And then I think they all left that same summer. And so we were looking at the Blazers like, okay, so it's Damian Lillard and who again? Like, CJ McCollum wasn't really a thing yet. And so to be the head of that monster, to keep that alive, and of course CJ's come up really nice as well, but to keep that alive, that is impressive. And to be in this situation, right, they're now 3-1, and they've had a hard road to make this play in happen. Because again, when they beat the Celtics the other day and they read off who they had left, they said the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Sixers, there's somebody else I'm forgetting right now, but I was like, yo, that's like everybody. It's like everybody you could play in the last few games here. And so far, they've already knocked off 2 of those, and they hold the game in a half advantage. So, and Lillard tonight went off against Denver, had 11 3-pointers, I think. Yeah, just, I really do love watching Lillard and CJ McCollum play. It's really a thing of beauty on offense. I even made a video about it the other day, just off of a whim, because I was like, man, this is, their bag is crazy. You know, Lillard is one of the only other players with legitimate Curry range in the league. So yeah, with what Portland has left, like if Portland gets that play in, yeah, I'm picking them to beat Memphis for that. They've been in the playoffs, they know what it takes, and they're a better team in my opinion. They weren't healthy throughout this year. I think a lot of people forget that. Adding Nurkic back has helped a lot, and shout out to him as well, to be able to come back off of a broken leg, and it's like he never left. That's been a big addition. So if that happens, we were talking about some of the 8-1 matchups. I mean, I was cool with the Grizzlies. I was cool with Ja Morant and all that, playing the Lakers if it wasn't going to be the Pelicans. Now you're missing Jaren Jackson as well. I never had any hope that they were going to beat them. It was just kind of like something I would want to see. Now they're shorthanded with that. They're not playing well in the bubble. I would be fine with seeing Lillard and McCollum. And that's, again, Charles Barkley says that they're gonna that's the team, if they get AC, they're going to beat LA. Like, Charles says a lot of things. I'll take my L if that happens, but I highly doubt it. But I would still love to see it. Of course, Lillard and LeBron in the playoffs, this never happened, of course. This is his first Western Conference playoffs, sure. I'd love that. Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker's playoff debut. If we get that, and the Suns are looking really nice right now, and Devin Booker just going crazy. That turnaround he had on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, like, I'm like, damn, bro, that's 2 games now in the bubble where PG and Kawhi were involved in an unfortunate event at the end of a game. But, you know, hell, Devin Booker just made a crazy shot. They defended that as well as anybody could have. And PG, that's happened. Somebody made a compilation of PG just getting his eyes dotted at the end of games throughout his career. And most of them were great defense. And he's, you know, defending the best player a lot of the times. And shit just happens, man. There's only been a few, if you look at that compilation, where he just, you know, blew it. But other than that, he's always there. But yeah, I'd be fine with seeing Devin Booker make his playoff debut. And then, of course, yeah, my favorite was to see the Pelicans, because I think that mattered more as well when there was an actual crowd, since the Lakers had traded for Anthony Davis, and then you had the young guys, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, all that stuff that goes on in that LA situation with them. I think that mattered more to me when there was a crowd. At this point, it's really just, yeah, I guess those old players playing their old team, and Zion as well. I'd like to see Zion open up his playoff career against LeBron. But yeah, I'm not holding my breath anymore, because sometimes I just wonder, like, do the Pelicans, throughout this bubble, I've been like, yo, do the Pelicans actually want to make it? Yeah, I don't know for sure. And then the last two we would get would be the Kings. I mean, sure, De'Aaron Fox is nice, you know. All shout out, he's playing amazing as well in the bubble too. So, I mean, it's not disrespect or nothing if I don't want to see certain matchups. There's more that I care about. The same thing with DeRozan. Like, I don't want to. Do you want to see DeRozan and LeBron again? I don't. We've seen that story, fam. We've seen that already. Like, I know how that ends. Like, that's another thing with Portland. Like, Carmelo back in the playoffs. Carmelo and LeBron. That's happened in the playoff series. It doesn't really matter now either. Like, he's not in his prime, but he's playing well. Melo's playing well. He's hitting some clutch shots. Empty gym Melo undefeated out here. But yeah, so basically the way I see it right now, the way it's trending, I'm going to get something I want out of this as far as a 1-8 matchup. And it's going to be amazing, man. It is going to be amazing. Those are pretty much, I think, all my thoughts about the AC. I could have made a whole video just about the AC situation. That's one of the things that's really tough about basketball being on all day now, is like I have a lot of ideas right now for videos, and you know, I have to work on the stream as well. So there's some things I just don't get to these days. That just is what it is. I think I've pretty much talked about most of what I had written down there. I've mentioned TJ Warren a couple of times. They lost tonight, but before that, yeah, TJ Warren was just absolutely going off. I had the first 50-point game of the bubble, then came back and he had like 28 points in 29 minutes or some shit like that against the Magic. Just going crazy out of nowhere, right? Just like multiple Mo Williams type games. Except TJ Warren, you know, again, if you knew he could play, that was the funny thing when Indiana picked him up. It's like, wow, they got this guy for what again? Like, he's fire. So not quite as unexpected as some of the more random games that we've seen, but you know, if I'm not about to sit here and tell y'all he's gonna, you know, take the Pacers somewhere in the playoffs, like if that's what you were expecting. I do want to see him play Jimmy Butler though. I hope Jimmy Butler is playing. The Pacers are supposed to play them soon. Don't duck the smoke, Jimmy. Do not duck the smoke, because you told him that. I tweeted about that. I was like, yo, this man has been in the hyperbolic time chamber ever since that day, ever since that skirmish that they had, because Warren leveled up. So I still want to see that. That's still on my bubble bucket list here. Yeah, other than that, I think we'll start to get to some more of the ambiguous topics regarding basketball and the bubble, like LeBron James in the East, because that came up again. And people, you know, I feel like I've said my piece on this before, and I feel like it's really, that's always the strange thing, right? Is people just have to be right about something, and they'll argue it for, you know, years at a time, and there just has to be these things. It's like, why can't you just look at it for what it is and talk about it, and like either it is the thing you want it to be or it isn't. And when it comes to LeBron James and his East thing, because the reason that came up is because he made a comment. He said that a lot of people said he couldn't do it, and he did, you know, in terms of locking up one in the West. And I just didn't say anything. I didn't tweet anything because, again, I don't debate with people on hours on end. 4 hours on end on Twitter. I just don't participate in that anymore. But the thought that kind of went through my head was like, I don't necessarily think what people have been saying in the past, it hasn't been that LeBron was going to go to the West and be the sorry player. He would just be another player, was it? I think the arguments have been, you know, more about the finals appearances and the playoff runs, and the fact that, you know, when he was in the East playing against like an Isaiah Thomas Celtics team in the first round, or, you know, some of these teams that we knew weren't going anywhere, other guys had been in the West, they were getting like 50-win teams in the first round. For instance, if you're the San Antonio Spurs and you're trying to protect your title, and you get the Clippers in the first round, it's like, fam, that's a legitimate finals level team. They just played in the first round. Like in the Eastern Conference, all these years that LeBron was here, you're not playing a championship team in the first round. Like, especially if you get a certain seed in the conference, that's just not happening, really. So, you know, that's besides the point. Of course, LeBron got hurt last year. We don't know how far the Lakers could have actually gotten. And I did find it interesting as well, like some of the, because again, narrative wasteland. I do find it interesting that Anthony Davis is now on this Lakers team. and he leads them in like every major statistical category, and they're first seed now as well. And so people will argue right along with LeBron, like, yep, LeBron did it, and y'all said he couldn't. But then it's like, yo, for the longest, like, anytime somebody's defending LeBron and it's against another major player, they look at the players that, you know, are playing next to that guy, and they're like, yo, what about his teammate that was averaging these numbers and led the team in this and led the team in that? That's what's happening right now. Anthony Davis, it's a legit, LeBron's the best player in the league still. Not MVP in my opinion, but still the best player in the league right now. But yeah, AD was a big addition to that as well, which you need. You need a great team in the Western Conference to get through it. That just is what it is. But that also leads back to the conversation where people want this narrative to prevail so bad about like, oh, why was the Eastern Conference all of a sudden not bad anymore once LeBron left it? Y'all don't give Giannis that same narrative. Like, I'm pretty sure Kendrick Perkins is out here propagating that. And I just got done talking about that earlier in the pod. Like, yo, there's dead ass, what did I say? There was like 5 Eastern Conference teams this year that could, you know, go to the finals and I wouldn't be knocked out of my socks. Like, when does that ever happen? I never like that disingenuous argument of, oh, well, it was because LeBron was in the conference that couldn't happen. Like, no, there was always only ever like one other team that you would look at in the conference that was really like that, you know? It wasn't. Because now these days you have this amazing Toronto team. Let's go back to last year, because I think last year was a better argument. That was the year that LeBron left the conference. The East had been, I made a whole video about that. The East had been growing up to that point, and then it really just kind of all came to a head where Philly got their players and they traded for Jimmy Butler. Toronto already had Kawhi Leonard. Giannis had moved on to become an MVP. The Celtics put together what they had, which was, you know, it was a disappointing team, but the roster was really nice. Like, it really all just kind of happened then. It wasn't as much as people want it to be that, oh, it's just a narrative and now LeBron is gone, now y'all call it a strong conference. Like, that's just what it was, fam. That's just what it was. I fully believe that in 2019, if LeBron would have stayed on that same Cavs team, there's no way in hell you would have got through the East. There's no way. Like, I would die on that hill, fam. I would die. Hell, his Cavaliers team in this Eastern Conference, no way. Absolutely not. You're taking that Cavaliers team over Giannis and the Bucks this year, or the Raptors right now? I mean, yeah, who knows with LeBron till, right? But nah, Toronto, they've leveled up since then. They've won a championship now. No. Hell, even against the Miami Heat, no. Like, no. That Cavaliers team, I always hate when time passes and people start rewriting history. Like, fam, that Cavaliers team went like 7 games with Oladipo and the Pacers, right? And Oladipo and the Pacers are a good team, but again, they're the only team right now that's not a finals level team in the Eastern Conference. Like, no. It's just, yeah. And then next year we're gonna have Brooklyn. Hopefully KD and Kyrie are both healthy. Things change, man. Things change over time. But yeah, LeBron and AD, they are an amazing pairing. They are 2 top 5 players in the NBA. And for this year, yeah, they have had a pretty good supporting cast around them when they're all there. I mean, of course, you take one of them away and all of a sudden it's not the same. But yeah, you put 2 top 5 players in a decent team, and yeah, this is what you get. It's a great thing. And maybe, again, I'm just missing it because the whole thing with the LeBron and West, for me, where I stood on it personally, like aside from all the narratives that come out with, you know, whatever everyone else says about it, I always look at it and go, well, LeBron in the West, I stood by the fact that no, I wouldn't have seen him making, how many ever finals he made in the East now? Like, some crazy, what was that, like 8 finals, whatever it was. It's crazy how time passes and you forget something like that, right? He went to the finals like every year, the end of the 2010s in the East. No, I don't believe that would have happened in the West. But I also believe, yeah, he still would have been dominant, and he still would have made some finals, of course, because he would have been, these West teams were really elite. So if he was on those teams and let's say they constructed, because you can't just assume that you put LeBron on one of those West rosters, because things change, right? The money changes, the roster gets built differently. Let's say he gets on one of these West teams and they competently build a team around him. Yeah, nah, he would definitely have some success like he's having right now. Fam, the proof is in the pudding, absolutely. Yeah, you put him with AD, which is like one of the best players in that conference, sure. But no, I don't think it would yield the same result as, you know, when your biggest challenge one year is defeating Isaiah Thomas's Celtics. Like, no, it's not the same thing. I don't know. I just found that funny. Anytime this whole conference thing comes up, I start reliving these last few years and NBA Facebook arguments and all that, which might lead us right into a question somebody asked. Should I go to that? I'll go to that at the end. Yeah, I'll go to that at the end. I'm going to take a detour into 2K21 first, because I think we're pretty much done with actual NBA talk here. So we'll go to the virtual basketball world and talk about NBA 2K21 because, hey guys, on August 6th, less than a month before the current gen release of NBA 2K21, you finally got some news, shred of news, right? We got a trailer today, and two important things stuck out because, look, everybody, like, I don't know whether you've lived through a current, a generation change before with consoles or 2K specifically, because there's only really been one, like in this era of like the internet and whatnot. So the only one you would have lived through was PS3 to PS4 to actually like talk about and share with people, more than likely, around the world, anyways. And so, yeah, I already knew how this works, and you should too if you lived that. The version that comes out on the current gen is going to look exactly the fucking same. The graphics are going to look exactly the same, and they did. I looked at details in the trailer today. The graphics, the cyber faces, the basketball, like it looks exactly like 2K20. But I knew that. They have a whole nother game in the works for next gen console. I knew they weren't throwing, and especially trying to make major improvements to this, because then, they want you to buy that next gen console, that next gen game. That's what they want. At least we have a pre-order thing this year where you can actually upgrade instead of buying the game twice. We had to buy the game twice when I was younger. We actually did that shit. But so what comes out in this trailer, we see that there's a new shot meter, by the way, which somebody, fucking Twitter detectives, dude went up and blew up the shot meter. So he actually, I guess he remade what he saw, that tiny thing he saw in the trailer. He blew it up and put it on Twitter, and so you could actually see like the details of the new shot meter. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up just so I can talk about it in detail just a little bit more. I don't remember the guy's name. Shot meter. Yes, there it is. One shot. Okay, so it was created by a user called Toasted_6. It's like a little bar, and there's a moving part of the meter. Wow, this meter kind of reminds me of a bit of NBA 07, The Life. Maybe I'm having a false memory right now. Probably, yeah, nah, very false memory. Ignore that. Yeah, so there's a moving part of the meter, and then you have a zone, like it's a little yellow bar, and basically the moving part of the meter, you're gonna let it go somewhere inside that zone, and I guess that's gonna determine the quality of your shot. And you have a little black part, so like there's a little yellow bar, and inside it there's like a little black sliver in there, and we're guessing that's the perfect zone. So if you hit there, you're most likely gonna hit a green. That's what it looks like, or whatever it's gonna be this year. So new shot meter, but I also did see in this picture, you can even see it, they also have the same shot meter from 2K17 below his feet. And it's Damian Lillard taking the shot from Lillard range. So if I'm pretty sure there'll be options. There's been options in the past to change your shot meter. I'm pretty sure the same thing is going to prevail here. So that's actually, so there's 3 bits of news. So yeah, new shot meter. You are apparently on current gen, well, I'll save that for last, best for last. Yeah, apparently we're getting colleges back. We saw UCLA, we saw the Gators, so yeah, college was what, in NBA 2K16? Was that the only time we could go to college in NBA 2K my career? Because 2K17, I barely remember was that OJ bullshit? I don't remember if you could go to college in that one. I don't know. You can go to college in one or a couple of these 2K. So yeah, now they're bringing it back for 2K21. You can, we don't know many details, but you'll probably be playing in college again. We'll see the extent of that. And then it appears that they are actually going to throw in a new park. Now this is interesting to me. The colleges and the park are interesting to me. I don't know the extent of either one, but I can already say just off bat that's more than I thought was coming to current gen. Because again, 2K14 for the PlayStation 3, they had the LeBron Path to Greatness mode, and that was cool. That was its own little thing. But for the most part, again, like I always talk about, the same assets we use in the game, a lot of it felt like you were really just playing a patch of 2K13. And so I was expecting 2K21, especially since they just gave us the last park and they're probably building something like gargantuan for PS5, I would assume. I was like, okay, 2K19 and 20 shared the neighborhood, so 2K21 is probably going to be the same neighborhood. And so what it says, if for like one frame in there, you can see different buildings, and it says 2K Beach is what it's called. That's all we got, 2K Beach. And so yeah, that's all the information we have. That's all the information we have about it. We got one little frame of it. As it pertains to the college edition, if it's like a copy and paste of what we had in 2K16, which is kind of what I'm expecting, that's what I was curious about, right? That's what I was curious. You heard me say this exact thing in the podcast, or ponder this last thing in one of my last podcasts, is I was saying they didn't have a cinematic My Career last time we switched generations on consoles. They didn't have that. So I was really wondering, like, okay, they don't ever do the same thing in My Career as far as a story. So I'm like, are they about to build a completely different story in 2K21 for current gen and then have a something totally different as well for PS5? Because I kind of hope that and again, this would be hard because it's like they'll be shooting two different stories, right? In one game cycle year. That's gonna, unless they've been working on 2K21 story for quite some time, they split up the team or something like that. Part of me would be kind of disappointed if 2K21's My Career on current gen is exactly the same, just with like a graphical boost on next gen, which again 2K hasn't been really known for that type of thing. But again, this is a situation. That's one thing I don't know about the Switch. But yeah, I'm also hoping, just because of how much more powerful the PS5 is supposed to be than the PS4, I'm also hoping whatever this 2K Beach thing is, I'm hoping that's not just the exact thing that we're going to get for the PlayStation 5. It would take a lot of the mysteriousness out of it, or the mystery out of it, and the lore of it. Yeah, that's you know, again, they did more than I thought they were going to, but we'll see. We'll get more information on it. We are in our last... Oh, a demo comes out on the 24th, I believe. We are in the last stretch of NBA 2K20, and I was actually talking about this with my brother today, like, because we talk about, hey, how much... It's funny, right? 2K has a cycle. Like, we always hate the 2K that's out, and then we end up, you know, having fond memories of it. I have theories on that. You know, I always think that it's more tied. I think 2K nostalgia is more tied to a point that we had in life, really, as a whole. Like, when I think about NBA 2K9, and I'm not just thinking about 2K9 the game, like, that's a whole era of my life that was different. You know, that's in 9th grade, you know, playing the game with different people. I think it's a little bit more than just the game, because I can vividly remember fucking hating 2K9 when I played it when I was a kid. But then, you know, I do a review on it, and all of a sudden, it's a little bit better in my head. Hell, I see that with 2K17 now. People did not like 2K17, and now apparently it's gaining some clout. Back with the 2K community. But yeah, being in the home stretch of 2K20 it's funny, because this is the first 2K, I think, where it was like I really tried to, you know, do different things with content. It's the first NBA 2K game that I streamed a ton. Well, kinda. I mean, yeah, during the summer of 2018, I streamed 2K18 quite a bit, but just play now online. So I've been doing, and that was only for like a month. Like, I've been doing 2K20 streams like basically this entire year. So, you know, regardless of how I remember 2K20, it definitely did. I did the My Career. I did a whole My Career short series on the second channel back when this game first came out. Hell, I even tried to dive into My Team, but I could never really get myself to really make content out of it. But yeah, when I look back at it as a whole, it's like, wow, this has been kind of a fascinating ride with this game. And we'll see where 2K20 takes us. I guess I started talking about that a little bit because somebody asked a question about that. I wasn't going to answer it. Somebody was asking a question about how things are going to change when PS5 comes out, as far as me streaming and making content, and I wasn't going to answer it because I feel like I already kind of talked about that. But, you know, I was thinking, like, yeah, with... Hell, people are going to be talking about the 2K21 demo, what is that, 2 weeks from now? Literally 2 weeks from now, for a day or two or whatever, people are going to be mastering builds and talking about content from that, and then I'll only have like a week left with 2K20, and 2K21 is going to come out and we'll see what happens, because again, no one's going to watch 2K20 content, no matter what, anymore at that point, so I'll be stuck with the console version, and we'll see what happens there, because I'm not playing Play Now Online, I can tell you that. I played Play Now Online yesterday. Sometimes I just play it recreationally on Xbox. I get on my Xbox, and I play it. And I fucking hate it. I hate how it feels on console. I hate how slow Play Now Online feels. I hate not having full rosters, because I've gotten spoiled because of PC mods. I have all these cyber faces and rosters that are filled out that you don't have on console. And the game just feels terribly slow. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens in the next few weeks with the you know, this 2K shit coming out. I'm really saving more of my energy for PlayStation 5. That's gonna be fun. Out of everything this year, I am most excited to be creating content through the change of a console generation. I do have big plans for that, if that answers the guy's question. Because again, I said I was gonna answer it, then I started to answer it. Yeah, no, being a content creator while a whole new console is about to come out, hell, I might completely farm my second channel into a new gaming channel. Because if you notice, I don't really use it anymore. I don't really use my second channel anymore because Twitch has effectively become my second channel. And it's not even just as like a, you know, oh, I wanted to ditch it. I wanted to ditch the second channel or anything. It's a time thing, fam. Especially now, basketball is on all day. You got people like, yo, when you gonna stream? Then it's like, yo, when you gonna release this video? It's like I only have time for certain things, and so yeah, I've been streaming over second channel videos for quite some time now, and that's just the way the cookie is crumbling. Speaking of cookies crumbling, somebody did ask. I guess we'll circle back around to the NBA thing. When the cookie is crumbling in the NBA in a game, when you have 10 seconds, that's not what he said. I was trying to make some fucking loose association to it. Look, he asked me, you got 10 seconds in NBA history you can change. What seconds would you use and how would it change history? And I thought about this one. This is a thinking question because I could immediately go for something generic for me. Like, y'all know I love D Rose, so why wouldn't I take D Rose out of the game when he was going to get injured? But not only am I not going to use that one because that's probably what everyone would use, I won't use that either because, like, the other reason I wouldn't use that is because I feel like Rose might have gotten hurt regardless. With the way he played and how fast he was and changing direction, that hop step, especially like we just saw with Isaac, kind of a freak accident. But they both have. That is an interesting thing, right? Jonathan Isaac had that injury before he came back and hop stepped and tore his ACL. D Rose had injuries that entire season before he came back and did that, and his knee gave way. So that could have easily happened at any other point. So that's not what I would change. Other thing you'd probably expect me to say is I'm going to go back and change something in the 2010 finals so the Celtics can win. I thought about saying that, but I'm like, that's the Celtics bias in me. And plus, like, that's so generic. What would that really change in history? If the Celtics win, yeah, it does change. Kobe would only end up with 5 rings. It would definitely change. Any little moment in NBA history would change damn near everything. That's what's so cool about it to me. But the 10 seconds I would change, surprisingly, would be for the Warriors in 2016. I would let Iguodala get his points. And not just because I was in, NBA groups back in the day, having heated arguments with people and shit like that, and I needed so much ammo to talk shit. Aside from that, we paid for that, bro. Like, Iggy getting his shit pinned by LeBron and then the Cavaliers winning. KD goes to the Warriors. And effectively just ruined our last few years of basketball. See, the thing about Golden State is now, if you go boot up some KD and Steph Curry highlights, they are very fun to watch. Like, they are. Like, I almost not got nostalgic about it, but when I look back at it, I'm like, damn, did we not appreciate this team? And then, like, little mini me on my shoulders, like, nah, fam. Like, that shit, it was not fun getting to the playoffs knowing the Warriors were just gonna wax. It really wasn't. So yeah, no, I'm letting Iggy get his points in that 10-second span. Maybe J.R. Smith doesn't change his shot, so he doesn't have to double clutch, so he can just get a little slight dunk, and LeBron, he still tries to chase it down, but he misses. I'm giving them that because the way that game was going, if you remember, it really felt like the next person that scores wins, and as we now know, that's how it turned out. So maybe it wouldn't. Maybe the Cavaliers would still hit a 3 or something, but I'll take my chances with the Warriors arena going crazy after an Iggy dunk and them finally scoring. And then that happens, of course. Kevin Durant, we don't know for sure, but he did say that he wouldn't have been able to go to the Warriors if they won that championship, but who knows? I mean, that was still crazy what he did, but I mean, that's what he says. So by his words, if we'd taken him at his word and he wouldn't go there, then the Warriors. Now you got a cool rivalry with LeBron and the Warriors, kind of. I mean, they would have won both of the finals, 2015 and 16, so they would have just proven that they were actually the better team all along. So who knows what happens, but we do know that we probably don't get that once-in-a-lifetime super team for the next 2-3 years. And, basketball goes on as normal with parity for years to come. And, yeah, I would have liked to have seen that version of NBA history. That's what I would change, because I became an NBA YouTuber that summer that Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. I was low-key. Like, I guess it was the best time to become one because, like, the community was really growing and, like, there was a lot of excitement around anybody who was posting basketball content. And so you could really come up. But also, it was a brutal time, too, because, like, playoff predictions, I still did them and I was still excited for playoff basketball. But, yeah, it's like Warriors. Last year, still Warriors if they don't get injured, So I'm changing that. Getting into some slighter topics as we close out. J. Cole apparently will be making an NBA run at the NBA. We haven't actually heard this from him. We heard it from Master P, actually. So we hadn't heard J. Cole say anything about it. But again, J. Cole did play college ball. People forget. We seen some summer hoop videos with him. Empty Gym J. Cole, anybody? We seen him in Chris Brickley videos actually running with ball players. He's like one of the best rappers that can hoop. So there's that. There's also the fact that he's 35, and I don't think this is actually ever going to happen, and I don't even think he's actually really trying it. I just wanted to talk about it, though, because I did see that people, this was actually causing some anger with people. Like, I saw some actual, like, blue checks on Twitter who are really involved in basketball saying like, damn, like I wish I could just be a rapper and get an NBA tryout. Because I mean, people really do go through a lot to make the NBA. They get asked to play in the G League for like pennies, basically, as a salary, or they get put through hell to make the league. And here's J. Cole, because he's known. We heard a rumor that the Pistons would give him a tryout. It's like, hell, maybe somebody give him a tryout just because he's J. Cole, but I doubt it. But that was enough to make people mad, though. Then I saw, another Twitter user that was like, another blue check that was like, yeah, our sport, like, is sacred. Like, people can't just jump into it like this and that. And I'm like, damn, bro, I didn't know this was actually making people mad. Like, it's for this man just wanting to, do something a little bit different, or try something different if he was. But I could see it from the perspective of somebody who, who's trying to bleed for it. But hey, I've always been raised to see that, or accept that life literally isn't fair. Like, the universe isn't fair. Life ain't fair. People are born in certain positions, and then you get J. Cole, who worked to be in a position that he's in, and certain things just come with that. Like, they just do. If it's fair or not, certain things come with it, man. That's just how it is. So I thought that was funny. If I was still doing, if we had more time with 2K, I might do a J. Cole career sim with NBA 2K20 on Twitch, but nobody got time for that. Maybe I'll pay for a cyberface on NBA 2K21 and do that for the couple of months that we have left with 2K or the current gen version of 2K21. That's pretty much it for like all basketball related things. Just some random questions people had. I'll go anime first because that's a little bit more related to things that I've talked about before. Only thing I have written down here is anime Code Geass. I wish I would have actually written the person's question down. That would have been helpful. I must have been in a rush when I wrote this down. I think somebody was probably asking me to talk about the anime that I've watched, or maybe they were asking me if Code Geass was worth it, because I watched Code Geass like when the quarantine first started. I need to watch it again, because Code Geass was one of the... Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking about that. Back when Eric and Rod were on the pod often. Yeah, we were talking about Code Geass, weren't we? And I had just gotten into it. Well, yeah, I ended up finishing it. I need to watch it again, because I took a long break while I was watching it, and so... when I came back, maybe some of the details were a little bit fuzzy to me. I felt like there were like a million things and battle plans happening throughout the episodes. So, I did like it for what it's worth. I generally understood it. And I think it's a top anime, obviously. So, yeah, I would recommend that to you. But as far as like a full synopsis, I ain't got that on hand. As far as what I've what else I watched in quarantine, what else I did with that, with anime, I watched... How many did I watch? Wow, I haven't really gotten through that many. Death Parade, that's amazing. Maybe I've already mentioned that at the end of a podcast, but if I haven't, yeah, that's a great watch. I watched it on the Funimation app, but if you have alternative, allegedly legal means, do so. That's a great one. I don't want to say much because I don't want to start ruining it. I think I was asking for something like Death Note, and that's what people recommended. So, yeah, I'm just not going to say much more about that. And then the other one that I watched, oh my god, did I forget the name of this amazing show? Parasite, yeah. Parasite came to Netflix. Yeah, that's the thing about Death Parade, right? Very short anime. It was only like, wow, how many episodes was that? It's somewhere in the 9 to 14 range, and I can't remember which right now. So yeah, Parasite is also relatively short. I think that was probably in like the 20 range. Also a really good show, and shout out to Migi. If you watched it, then you know Migi the character. Parasite hurt, man. Parasite hurt because I felt like the character was so awesome and the concept of that show was so fire. It needed more time. The characters needed more time. They could have gone anywhere with the story that they wanted to, but it's really just like one of those one and done animes that have some type of moral to them. I at least have to give you... I mean, look, the name of the show is Parasite, so you can deduce that, people get infected with things and get powers and shit like that. And, yeah, that leads to, like, 1,000 different possibilities. So, watch those. Watch the Death Parade and Parasite. You can spend, like, the next month watching those. I would recommend both of those. That's all I really have to say about anime. I didn't really we're at, like, an hour and a half. I'm getting fucking tired of talking. The very last thing, this one came from Twitter. Somebody asked me, did I see YouTube falling off, or do I think it's too big for, or do I think because it's backed by Google, there's really no chance of that happening? Basically asking me if, like, YouTube is going to be replaced one day by something, especially that would be important to me because I'm on it and I get most of my opportunities through it. My whole view of YouTube has always been that there's certain things that seem too big to fail. And YouTube might change a lot throughout the years, like another 10 years. Like, we've gone through these phases of adpocalypses and big creators, not big creators, but big famous people making channels and, you know, YouTube favoring them and whatnot. It'll go through phases. YouTube itself, I don't think is ever just going to fall off because, yes, in my opinion, it is too big. People have been creating here for how long now? We've gone through phases of creators. We have creators from like the mid 2000s that started with YouTube and, you know, they disappeared, and now we've got like a whole another group of people, and people go on to like get like real fame from this, man. People go on to get like, people go on to like, shout out to Dr. Disrespect. He just came back, actually. He's streaming on YouTube now. Nobody knows what happened with him on Twitch, but he's back now on streaming on YouTube, and the man had like 300K in there, 300,000 people in there just off of notifications, just off of the notifications. You know, people go on, and in rare cases, people go on and get real fame. They get like real notoriety. Let's just put it that way. Maybe you're not gonna get like rapper famous off of it, but you could though. Yeah, people build real things with this, man, and you know, it's jobs for some people, it's opportunities for some people, and yeah, just straight going away and falling off with another competitor, I don't see how. Especially with the time, like, look, we're starting to put some distance between us and the origin of this site, man. We're in 2020 right now. When did it come out again? Like 2006 to like, so every important video that's, you know, existed in the last 14 or 15 years, and even before that, is on this website basically. And you know, unless there's some like catastrophic failures or some catastrophic changes, I don't really see when we're just going to, you know, have a new competitor pop up out of the blue and take it. Or unless, well, is YouTube gonna get banned now? It's gonna like TikTok just banned one day? I don't know. Yeah, I don't really see it falling off like that. But yeah, no, changes to make it harder for creators and shit like that, sure. But I think YouTube in some capacity, and in a major capacity, will be around for a lot of our lives. I do believe that. But yeah, if you're a YouTuber, of course, it's always smarter to think about how you can detach yourself from this site in terms of well-being, because things do change and they get turbulent. Like, one day you wake up and there's a new copyright rule, and now all of a sudden you can't do things the way you were doing them, or, you know, that certain words aren't accepted anymore, or certain types of content aren't accepted. Like, yeah, there's changes that happen that throw a lot of creators for a spin. And so, yeah, you do want to make sure that you're, you know, creating, that you're an actual, like, content creator, man, that you can be entertaining on other things, like Twitch, you know. I enjoy Twitch, but aside from that, like, people come in and ask me, oh, you stream on YouTube, or, you know, why aren't you streaming on YouTube? Well, I never really get why aren't you streaming on YouTube. I just get, would you stream on YouTube? And my answer is always no, unless I have to. Like, if I go on YouTube, I've streamed on YouTube before, like, when I very first started. I was streaming on YouTube, like, fam, people, as soon as I get off, that shit was already demonetized because of some words I said, you know? Like, when I stream, I'm lit, so I say whatever, and then it's demonetized. Boom, just like that. Or they might take it down because of something, or maybe I had music playing. Like, the copyright is way stricter on YouTube. So yeah, there's many reasons to be on another platform. Then you got like Instagram. People make legitimate money off Instagram. It's like, you just expand yourself around all platforms. Like we do. I had a tweet last night, cause I always tweet like fake deep shit after midnight. It's just, I don't even really be in a mood or anything. I just put those out because they became a thing. And I was like, yo, I feel some type of way about being born way too early for advanced space exploration. But then also it's like, well, I am born in the golden age of the internet, and relatively, when you look at how long it's been around, or how not long it's been around in human history, like I'm at the start of it pretty much. So the possibilities are just kind of endless. So you're at a great spot. You're at a great spot, you know, still. But yeah, I would like to know what's happening on the other side of the galaxy as well. That'd be pretty lit. Alright, well, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. We are here for an hour and 40 minutes. Is there anything I didn't mention on here? I did not mention, shout out to Mike Budenholzer and Billy Donovan, being co-coaches of the year, actually, but they were voted on by the Coaches Association, so that's not the official award. I think some people missed that. Nick Nurse missed this vote that means all the coaches came together and vote. Nick Nurse almost made it a 3-way tie. He is going to, I think he'll probably end up the actual coach of the year, but hey, yeah, seeing Billy Donovan there, obviously, because that roster, everybody looked at that and was like, yo, is Chris Paul even going to play here? And now they might be 4th seed going into the playoffs, so that, and Nick Nurse loses his stars and Danny Green, and it's still, we're sitting here talking about how they might make it back to the NBA Finals. Both are incredible situations. But yes, I am done. So we'll see what actually comes of the awards when they announce those during the playoffs. Thank God. Once again, if you want to listen to the show again or whatever, and it's easier for you on iTunes and Spotify, link is in the comment section and description. If you want to catch episodes weekly when these come out, make sure to hit the bell next to the channel name. Also, make sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all on the next one.